Go ahead and start our weekly road and bridge meeting. First thing on the agenda is review and signatures for a development agreement. Final plat, do you want to explain anything about that, David?
This is Hitt Road Plaza. It's off of Hitt Road or Jump It. They're
C&D landfill is,
two lots there, so.
that's for their offices.
Yeah. They have a very small little portion that's adjacent to Hitt Road. And so there is an improvement drawing for that portion along Hitt Road, but most of it doesn't have a public improvement. So
Do you have any concern about it, or?
No. And it's actually a 3-lot subdivision, not 2. So,
The pit is one lot
Right.
by itself. So
Are you guys okay with this?
take the excess waste and go on the hatch. That's a big hole.
Hey, we'll go ahead and go next to discussion with Tony Weiss, Falls Water Company. Commissioner Christensen set this up, so I'll let you explain it.
Tony called me, with concerns.
Come on up and sit down.
On, as I understand, we used to have ways for them to get the access to the addresses. And that he was trying to.
access the addresses on.
The addresses.
The new subdivisions to go in.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think it's just kind of lost in the communication, and I'm gonna come and try to explain it from both sides, but I think it's easier to just sit down and find a way that, as I talked to Trish, and she can send you the link on how to get that. And then she has some questions on the drafting program or whatever program it is you're using, that you put your information in.
Okay,
What is that?
the AutoCAD Civil 3D.
Is that compatible with what we have? That put as a layer?
Usually it's compatible. You can make it. You can make it compatible.
in. Yeah,
Or we could save it in any format you want, basically the save files or whatever.
yeah, because we have a data sharing agreement that we'd want you to sign, because you provide that to us, because it helps knowing where your utilities are in the roadway.
Okay,
And because that's what we're trying to get this whole system that way, but then he has access where he doesn't have to look on the map to find out the addresses.
So at what point are you're trying to get the addresses?
I would-
After the plat's recorded?
well, doesn't John make up the addresses?
John does the addressing, but he bases that addressing off of them having the public improvements essentially done.
So we don't make it up, it's like when Eagle Rock or somebody brings in the drawing.
Not usually as a preliminary plat or
Not
anything
until
like
it's a
that.
building permit usually.
Yeah,
So is it made up as a whole subdivision once?
usually at the subdivision, how they're platted.
That's when I would like to get it,
Yeah,
because we're getting it kind of one by one, or mostly we're getting it off parcel viewer.
yeah.
Going step by step that way.
Well, I think there may be an easier way, and so what John does is addresses it after it's at the point of the commissioners being able to accept that subdivision, and planning and zoning can then issue building permits. So we don't usually like to share that information other than that, but if that's a situation where we get it ready, the commissioners accept that for conditional approval, and you get a list of all the addresses in that subdivision, that's probably pretty easy to do.
Yeah, that's all we're asking is instead of that, we've been told that we can't have it until the permit's been issued. So I try to keep our base map kind of ahead of things so we can do our,
We could probably do it at the time we do conditional acceptance of the subdivision. That's
Or
probably
it'd
not.
just be like what we get, which is the subdivision map that has all the addresses on it, depending on which way the house faces. So
So who's gonna coordinate with Tony to get the permissions?
What probably best to happen is once once John addresses that subdivision and brings that letter of conditional acceptance to you guys, he can send you a map of it. Okay, so I think that's the easiest way.
And then as you get your updates on the as-bills and things like that, if you, I think Trish can set up a layer in the GIS.
Is that over to the GIS department then?
Yeah, for your, utility. Because we're trying to get all the utilities, to do that, so when we go to do a road project. You know,
Good hope.
yeah, we've got, especially with one of our large municipalities, they just go ahead and put them in there and Lance doesn't know. Because when we go to do a widening project, exactly where it is and what's under the road. That's one of the reasons we're requiring this. I told you about that ordinance, for, utilities to kind of, be a gatekeeper. So you don't have crisscrossing or somebody comes down a road that's not willing to serve and they lock up, the right of way. Which I kind of asked Tony about this area because Austin, you know, part of the map we're working on the area of impact is areas that, right now the city of Idaho Falls cannot or will not, annex. You know, just for whatever reason, they don't want them. One of them that came up was the wrecking yards.
Right.
And apparently you have an MOU, with the city, for Hitt Road.
25th or 15th.
It is in front of there.
Everything on Woodruff.
Right. And the problem is one of the wrecking yards came one will expand. And the city said, well, we don't want to annex them and we're not going to provide the services unless they're annexed. And they're not put in that road yet. But you know, what the issue is I guess the MOU, what's the history of that MOU?
The MOU in the past with either IF or Idaho Falls, and this is the only time we've done it with Idaho Falls is, as you know, when we finally brought it up next to them, and then they said, well, we want this or that, and personally, I was against it, but it got signed anyway. But we set it as 15th as St. Leon Road. But from my understanding, talking to our general manager, it's non-binding as long as the other guy agrees to it. And if the junkyards did call us asking for water, and I mentioned the MOU and I haven't heard back anything since.
From the city?
Well, I did talk to Dave Anderson, or David Richards with the city this morning. And he's gonna check into it, but, that's neither here nor there, I guess, but
Get back to you next Monday.
yeah, pretty much.
Well, our interest is making sure that if it's an area that's not gonna be annexed, they can get service, whether, you know, because whoever is gonna run a line down there, needs to be able to provide the services on both sides, and you're providing it for Anderson, so you come in on the Iona Road side.
We come off Iona Road, or there's I believe it's Bowling or one of these other roads come out right on the opposite side of the, I think it's Idaho that's been asking,
It is Idaho.
yeah. And then it's
They've
right
got,
across the street.
yeah, they've got a lot to the south that they're wanting to develop.
We're basically right across the street from with the water line. They can be looped around, and we do go down Iona Road. Or up Iona Road to St. Leon there.
I don't know what your agreement with them is, but I think our interest is if we've got somebody that wants to develop that's being blocked out, kind of similar to what we have with, Hal Wright's, division over there, you know, along Iona Road, where they take up the roadway. That's what we're trying to solve with this, is whoever's utility in the roadway needs to have an agreement to serve those customers along that, because we don't have the room to have your line down there, run a sewer line, run City of Idaho Falls power. I mean, water. So.
Yeah, when you have all of those competing utilities in the same segment of roadway.
Well,
roadways.
From here on, in the future, we'd love to be a more active part of your meetings. I would put that out there.
Maybe coordinate with Austin on the areas they're planning on growing. You know, get an idea on the area of impact and what the service areas are. They've been working on, coming up with whether or not they're willing to allow other utilities to serve in the city for several years, but they haven't made a decision yet. But we're gonna be updating the area of impact with the new law change, probably sometime in November. And that's going to identify some of those areas. So the coordination, I think, would be really
Well,
helpful.
We do serve part of the city of Ann, and City of Our Falls is one of our customers now. Just in one spot, but they're still our customer.
And that's not the problem. I mean, you know, that's great. I mean, you know, because that's an area that's not gonna be annexed, you've already got your line there. You know, that's the way it should work, but for them to come in and put a line down, for example, to serve like that and locking you out of an area that you're already serving, that gets to be a problem, of course.
Okay.
So I guess coordinate, both Austin maybe on coming up with a solution, especially if all you gotta do is go across the street.
Right.
You will not have to lay a line down 15.
Well, I'll be talking with Dave Rich next week, see what they got to say. And we'll work out whatever it can be.
And
We're willing to put a line over
And if you don't,
there.
if you don't get an answer from them, you know, they're working on it. Our interest is just not standing in the way of one of the businesses.
Okay. Fair enough.
And if you have a copy of that MOU,
Yeah, if you would mind sending that over to us, just so we can see what it is and how it's worded.
Okay. Okay, all right, appreciate it, Jim.
so with the addresses, the one thing that does come up is like the Ammon Lincoln subdivision where they gotta kind of go ahead to get a building permit before the plat was recorded. We don't have those addresses all done yet. And so we'll have to work that out, but usually in residential subdivision, we'll have that conditional acceptance first, so.
One other thing, if you don't mind. Them starting on subdivisions before they're even signed by the county or by us, that's happened.
I don't like it.
I don't either, and I would like to find a way to stop it. I don't know if there is, I've run into a couple of instances where I know when I sign a piece of paper or these drawings, and I go out there and my water lines are on property lines sitting side by side instead of the center of the lot.
Yeah.
And, they've stuck it in on me a couple of different times, and it's unacceptable, but now
Until,
we have to live with it.
well, until they're forced to tear it out once and put it in according to the drawings that you signed, they're gonna keep doing it.
Who would force that?
Well, he would on acceptance of where the water lines are located, but we would on other things on subdivisions. If the road's in the wrong place or,
So if I catch it out in the field and I see that right away and I go tear it out, make it right, then if they haven't even been signed by the county, then
if they haven't been signed as conditional accepted by us. Yeah, I mean, that's,
okay.
and I don't like, it would be far better to do that, catch it before the asphalt's down.
Right.
Because that's where those water service lines are out, otherwise you end up with them coming off of the main line and then doing some weird thing outside of the road.
So. Okay.
If you see something like that, bring it to John's attention and have him notice them too, but you guys need to be able to tell those developers and the contractors saying, hey, we're not gonna accept it like this.
I mean, there are developers out there that just go ahead before they get anything signed. I'm shocked.
Yeah, big shock,
Probably 90% of them.
Well, sad thing is, you've known it so many years and the engineers and you're all friends or however you wanna phrase it. You know, the old handshake just doesn't work anymore,
Yeah,
so.
that's why we're trying to clean up things like, those utilities on the roadway and.
Okay, so how often do you want? I've signed the agreements before with Dawn or Trish down here. Yes, how often do you want me to send my updates in? I don't wanna be bothersome or
Yeah, I,
talk to the lady down there.
Whatever works for Trish, yeah.
Yeah, talk to Trish, we kind of mentioned it to her.
I mean, if it's inside of subdivision, most of the time we're gonna kind of be aware of that, because we are recording those drawings.
Okay.
Those improvement drawings, so if it's inside of a subdivision, most of the time, we're gonna have a pretty good idea, even if it's not on GIS. It's the projects outside of the subdivision where you're extending lines or doing something else that would be very helpful.
Yeah, we're doing our own GIS now, so.
Yeah.
Are you getting as-built drive anymore?
Sure.
Okay.
Are you gonna what?
Get that as-built drawings.
They're called as.
Yeah.
Whether they are or not.
Well, but I think you kind of pointed out what we're observing, because the interface now with Idaho Falls, especially where they go out in fingers, is starting to butt up against areas that are served.
So,
If you let the weeds, the roots of the weeds cross, it's kind of like morning glory. You can spray it here, but the shoot goes out.
well, if there's any other questions, we're phone call away, or we'd be happy to sit in with meetings or
Okay,
whatever.
and I appreciate working with you and
Well, you've been great.
getting the ideas of whether it's a concrete collar around your
Right.
tiles or the asphalt collar, and we've gone back and forth with things a few times, so.
Yeah, sometimes I haven't made the brightest decisions over the years, but trying.
Go forward.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks for coming in. Next on the agenda is open discussion items. What else do we have, Lance, that you needed to bring up?
Just a heads up, any further newness from your schedule, but next Tuesday, there are bids due into Caleb by 4 p.m. for the Hammond Road widening project. And then the next day, there'll be a bid opening that you'll have to do bidding.
Okay.
So that's from Lincoln Road north, essentially to Highway 20. I don't know if Austin has heard anything back from any of the developers along 49th North. Okay,
Troy.
yeah,
I did talk to the school last week and they were concerned that they've already paid Jeff Freiberg to do their engineering supposedly on 49th North. And I just told them, I said, well, then you need to come talk to us and tell us what that is, because if it's actually done and complete, then we might be able to get it to Four Rocks to use as part of their design, but I don't even know what phase it's in, or if Jeff's even really started or just shown it on a piece of paper. I don't know.
or.
So,
back of that
They were
scratch.
supposed to get back to me on that, but I haven't heard anything
Who
from
should talk to?
John Pym.
You didn't get hold of Wilson.
I need to call Wilson too, but I told John on the phone, I said, just so you know, if you guys choose not to opt into the design, then you're responsible for moving the pole in that location too. And it's like, okay, so.
Well, cause we gotta be fair with Rocky Mountain Power.
Yeah. And then I just had a question. It doesn't need to be in the meeting or whatever. It's about budgeting and how philosophy of putting down all these big road projects in a budget or not. Cause if I put all these high dollar things in there, it makes road and bridge budget
Right.
really look high.
I think, traditionally, we've done that during your budget process to see which ones are reality.
Yeah, it just needs to be into Munis by the 20th.
Uh,
I-
guess you could put a list of what you think is in there and then.
I kind of have, I put that in there. But it makes that summary sheet look like I'm adding a lot of money.
So you are, you're expensive. You know, no, because that's, these projects are sometimes unpredictable enough. It's hard to put them in a budget, but we can always open them later if they come through.
Yeah,
You know, the one that's like County Line Road.
and that's one of them that I
Yeah,
got
we,
there. What
we
do I
don't
put in
know
there?
the amount. That's where you can justify the budget opening later.
Hmm.
You know, but it helps to have whoever's here know what's coming up.
Yeah,
So you can plan for it because of that money out of reserve.
Yeah.
That's those, and that'll be up to Penny, to decide whether you pull those, you know, because they're trying to get something where they can pull those out of the reserve lines. You know, by a transfer, so it doesn't artificially overinflate your budget.
cause it looks like I'm adding $23 million right now. So.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, similar to what we did last year or the year before, we didn't put that big project in.
Right.
So I would
So
keep
we'd
it,
have to
I think
have
we keep it
spending
kind of the
authority.
same.
yeah, but at least give us a list
Yeah.
and let us
Yeah.
know what's coming.
And that's kind of what I'm doing, but I wanted to make
Because we can
sure.
add those back in, but, you know, eventually it'd be nice to get your budget sorted out. To where we've got these reserve projects over here, so they're not in your ongoing.
Yeah,
And so we can isolate, you know, because like that extra revenue we got from the state. I think we left as a placeholder, $2 million in there for projects. You know, part of that is helping build your reserve back because we're getting pretty low. But knowing what's there for your dedicated fund, you know, you're slowly gonna eat that down with cost of living and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, I'd encourage you to, in fact, we talked to building and grounds, but getting an appointment early on so we can work through those and then another one later.
okay. I'll do that. I hadn't yet, cause I trying to budget some of this stuff it's a crystal ball. It's awful fuzzy.
Well, you're one of the last problem children we're trying to
Yeah.
to make more simple, you know, and yours is very complex.
And both of them, road and bridge and solid waste. are both.
Do you have First Street on that list?
Yes, which one though? I've got
The
three
one that the
projects on.
MPO
First
isn't.
Street. Yeah,
fully
so there's
funding.
3 different First Street projects in the mix here.
And when is that one supposed to be built though?
Isn't it next year? Right away next year, right?
Right away is next year, and right now that amount has been increased, but I don't know that it's gonna be enough.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
and
just,
we're still 3 point something million shy on the construction. That's what's in.
I just hate to give the 3 million back we're getting if we
Yeah.
can help it, but it
Well,
will
but that's
probably,
You know, you've got this 20 million that will be adjusted again after the end of the year. You just see what's there. You've got that, and that's just a matter of shifting projects and priorities.
Cause we got. It appears like we're gonna get the First Street and Hammond Signal project out of PD and it's been out of PD and now we'll get, next week I'll have a state local agreement to start that process on the design of that signal at First and Hammond. And so we've got the First Street with the City of Hammond, we got the signal, and we've got First Street widening out beyond there. So 3 different projects on First Street.
You're so complicated, I can't even keep track.
Yeah.
I'm just an old farmer. We don't
I
understand
asked in,
this high finance stuff.
I asked in BMPO, they had a part of their budget. John's gonna see this today. It says miscellaneous. In their budget for like miscellaneous spending,
$43,000.
$43,000 or something. So Daryl was talking to us about, well, we just set this aside for if we need extra money. So I raised my hand and I said, well, can you put 3.3 million in there for the first street project the next year? He didn't think I was too funny. So that's miscellaneous, right?
I just wish there was a way we could,
Have equal votes.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
So do I.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else.
You got anything, Austin?
Mhm.
Is there anything from the public? Okay.
Our educated observers.
Yeah, we appreciate you